Okay, now this is the part of the class where we reviewed what we did on Tuesday. So let me just go back to it real quick so that everybody's on the same page. First of all, we talked about that Ivy Connections assignment, which had you, let's go here, and if we go back to Module 6, I believe it was, maybe up higher, maybe Module 5? No. Aren't you having fun yet? Here, in Module 7, I've uploaded all of those files so that you can pull all of the answers off that you need and put them into your file, because you've only received 5 points for that. Once you've completed filling that out, then re-upload that into the original assignment so that you can receive the rest of the points. Now, I mentioned that each one of you had questions to complete. Bryce did not get his complete, so you will have to do Bryce's questions to complete that. And Bryce had the last 3. Where you buy books, where can you find food, and where do you go to exercise on campus. And we're talking the Lafayette campus right now. So those 3 questions should be answered in relationship to the Lafayette main campus. So you'll find your files here, and those are the questions you'll have to answer in addition to copying in the others. I would ask you to also check and make sure all those answers are correct. You know, if you can improve them, feel free to do so on your submission. So that was one of the first things we looked at. Then we talked about the discussion board analogy, and I'm not going to say too much about that other than there was a lot of talk about being interested in the topic, and I kind of tried to explain to you that a lot of times those are the requirements of the field you're in. So we have to provide that information for you. But here's an interesting question. How many of you found learning the ABCs fun and interesting? Now, most students kind of get excited for a while, and then it gets pretty dreary after a while, trying to remember the ABCs and learning to write and this and that and the other. Where would you be today without knowing the ABCs? That's an important question, because at the age of 5 or 6, you did not know the importance of that. And even at my age, there are many things that I have to learn that I'm saying, why am I learning this? But in the future, I usually find a reason to use it or a reason to need it. So sometimes we just have to accept the fact that that information may be important in the future, and we can't see into the future and don't know the difference. So I have also found there's always a way to be interested in a course, and that's a mindset, and that may come with maturity, or it just may be something that suddenly becomes a light bulb for you. But there's always something interesting to find in a class if you want to, and that's the key. So you have to realize and accept what you can change and what you can control and what you can't. And then you have to make things work, and that becomes your choice. You can't change the fact that these are the requirements. The only thing you can change is your attitude towards them. And I think you've probably got 3 or 4 years of education ahead of you. I think if you could do a mindset change, you would enjoy your education a lot more than if you want to continue feeling resentment toward the system. So that's my spiel on that. Now, let's go to something a little more interesting. Cornell note-taking practice. I asked you how you did and if you had questions. Now, I didn't have time to really get into that, but I did find a really nice site that might help us explain it. So here you go. Here's the Cornell, and you're going to make a line here, a line here, and a line here to kind of divide your paper up. All right, so this kind of different areas. This area right here is going to be for your notes. This area on the side would be for questions or key points that you pull out of your notes or that you want to pull out of your notes. Either way you want to look at it. Bottom part is for summary. Top part would be where you would put an explanation of what these notes are from or end the day. So it kind of looks like this. Course name, date at the top. All right, makes sense to me so far. So here you've got where you're taking your notes. These become your key points or questions you're asking. These can be a pre or a post after notes, whichever you want to do. Whatever works for you. Then, as soon as you get done with this lecture, review and clarify those notes. Make sure you understand what you wrote. You want to pull out main ideas. You may put those main ideas here, and then you could do a summary. Now, what that summary does for you is when you get ready to study for a test, you can go to the notes first, look at the summary, and know if you need to go into further detail. It's a very nice way of keeping track of notes in class. So I'm hoping you will learn something out of this. I don't think anybody knew about Cornell, so this is something new that you'll learn. Give this a try. You have an exercise that asks you to do that, and that exercise involves English 111 text PDF, and it has an example with it. So you're going to take Cornell notes on this PDF. The next one, let's go back and see what else. The reading and note-taking assignment. I asked everybody to look at it. This one is due on Sunday. Oh, this one was due, I think, Friday. It's due earlier. So if you haven't got it done, please get it done. But the reading and note-taking assignment, which is right here, asks you to use the SQ3R method, which is you skim it. You write 5 questions about it. You read and answer those questions as you go. You take notes also that are not in your questions for your preferred method of taking notes. And then finally, you review it and summarize what you learned from reading in the chapter in your own words. And that, this SQ3, you're going to do these 5 operations by reading the financial accounting textbook. And you could do this for any of your courses. This is another way of taking notes by using that method. Sometimes these questions, you have to be careful what questions you ask because you want them to be the main points. I usually use the objectives as a guide for the questions I might want to ask and answer. In addition to doing that, though, you also want to take your own notes on the side of things that might be important. So this is just a way to get involved with the reading. This one is due Sunday. It should be a lot of fun. It's a good way of learning to read, especially if you have a lot of pages to read. It kind of breaks it up and it helps you get involved with the work. Because just sitting down and reading sometimes is not fun. You have to have a purpose. So that kind of brought together Tuesday's assignments, and at that I'm going to stop, and then we're going to look at note-taking and test-taking in Module 8.